Welcome to the November 20th, 2018 County Commission meeting. I would remind you to silence your cell phone. The meeting documents are on the end of the counter in the white folder. And if you need a listening device, you can talk to Carol in the front up here. Move on to routine business. Item number 1 is consider a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 2 is approve the commission meeting minutes from November. I don't have the date. Oh, yes, I do. Sorry, there's an A and a B. A is a special session commission meetings from November 9th, 2018. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A motion and
Second.
second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. And item B is a commission meeting minutes from November 13, 2018.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 3 is bills to be paid in the amount of $1,147,875.73.
Pay the bills.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments? I would comment that I think over 800,000 of that was highway improvement costs. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 4 is reports. Item A is the Minnehaha County Sheriff's Report for October 2018. Item B is the Sioux Empire Fair Association Audit Report for 2017. Those are on file at the auditor's office. Item number 5 is personnel actions. Item A is consider a motion to approve the routine personnel actions.
Make a
Move for
motion.
approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 6 is abatements recommended for approval. There are none. Item number 7 is notices and requests. Item A is authorize the auditor to publish notice of hearing on December 11, 2018 for an on-off sale malt beverage license transfer. Olivia?
Yes, Renner Corner has decided to change ownership, so they just need to transfer their license, and that requires a public hearing.
A motion to authorize that publication.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 8 is planning and zoning. There are none. Item number 9 is petition for compromise of lien at DPNO number 66079 in the amount of $4,000. Melinda, good morning.
Good morning, Melinda Storley, Commission Assistant. Before you is DPNO 66079, which represents public defender and public advocate fees recorded between March 2008 and March 2015 in the amount of $4,509. He has made payments totaling $509, leaving a lien balance of $4,000. He has expressed in his narrative that he's in the process of buying a duplex where he could live and also rent to help supplement his income. He is disabled but chooses to work 2 jobs to provide for himself and his disabled mother. He claims a salary of $27,000, assets totaling $6,098.86, and liabilities totaling $19,102.05. The petitioner is requesting a compromise and release of the lien in full upon payment of $1,000.
Are there questions for Melinda? Okay, I don't see the petitioner here, so Commissioner Karski?
Do we know, is this closing still due to be scheduled? Because it says on the closing October 1st, but I swore I saw another one that said December. Is this closing still scheduled? Are we?
I know, yes, it was postponed because of the lien. He didn't know how to address
So
it.
there still is a valid purchase agreement on this for this individual. Okay.
Do you know that because you saw paperwork that said that, or just because it was represented by the petitioner that's?
It was represented by the petitioner.
Okay, so we don't really know that for sure.
You mentioned that it's on the closing paperwork. Dean, did you mention that you saw it listed on the closing paperwork?
I saw a December date somewhere, but that was Friday or Saturday when I looked at this, and then I was made aware that this purchase agreement is for October, so I haven't had time to double check that, I guess.
I'm looking.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
I'm looking for that number.
Melinda, in his notes, he talks about owing SSI $4,000 in overpayments.
He didn't explain what that was all about. I just know that he is no longer considered disabled, but he's expressed that he elected to work versus receiving SSI.
Commissioner Bender.
I just comment that that is not unusual
No,
if
but-
if you receive benefits in error. Yeah, I appreciate that this petitioner has made a lot of payments. I mean, I think that we're always appreciative of people who are willing to make payments towards this debt. But given the fact that there really is no proof that there's a pending closing that is driving this, I would prefer to not approve it at this time, pending further information.
Commissioner Karski?
I understand where Commissioner Bender's coming from, but at the same point, this closing was supposed to occur on October 13th, and he's representing to us on November 13th, or was supposed to close on October 5th, and on November 13th, he's in our office representing that he is still going forward with the closing. Either he is or he's lying, I guess, and that's a judgment call we get to make here.
Can
Without-
we,
Yeah.
can we compromise with with the caveat that there is evidence that they're closing in the next week or something, or can we not do that? Carol's looking funny at me.
Well, I guess the question would be whether or not Ms. Storley knows, was there a date certain given to you in December?
No.
So we could actually defer it 1 week and find out further information too. If it's December, we've still got another week. We can do it.
I would be in favor of deferring until we know for sure if there is a closing or not.
I would support that as well.
I think that's a great idea.
I'll need a motion.
I would make a motion to defer this for 1 week.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Melinda. Next, we have opportunity of public comment. Is there anyone who wants to speak about anything that is not on today's agenda? Nobody's moving. Regular business. Item number 10 is a brief presentation on the Compass Center. Good morning.
Good morning, counselors. Michelle Markgraf, Executive Director of the Compass Center, and I have with me Michelle Trent, our second Michelle, who's the Assistant Director and also Director of Clinical Operations at the Compass Center. Just a really brief updates on the Compass Center. You can see before you how many people we have served over the past year. We last year had 100 people that we were unable to serve on our survivor side, and that was just because we did not have the personnel to do it. In the updates, we did add another counselor to our staff, and we hope that with that addition of a counselor that we will be able to meet the demand that is in Minnehaha County for survivors. The other big thing is that we have moved into a larger location, and that larger location opened the way for us to be able to get a new counselor and to be able to continue to grow down the road so that we don't have that gap of where we're not providing all the services that are needed. Thank you to those commissioners who were able to make it to our ribbon cutting. And I know, Cindy, you came for a private tour because you weren't available. And if anybody else would like a private tour, I'm more than happy to show you around and show you what's up at the Compass Center. In September, we also added a receptionist, and that was just because we had only one clerical FTE since we had 5 people on staff, and now we have 12 who are there during the day, and it was time to add some of the clerical pieces as well so we could continue and take some of the clerical work off of our counselors so they could actually be counseling. And then we've got a couple of new programs because we realize that sexual assault, domestic violence is going to continue until we as a community decide it has to stop. And so we're starting to add programming in to stop it before it starts. And Michelle Trent is in charge also of the educational components, so I will have her talk a little bit about the 2 programs that we are doing to stop domestic violence and sexual assault in our community.
Good
Morning. Thanks so much for having us. So we've got two programs that are new to us. The first is called It's Our Business, and it's a presentation and education program specifically designed for businesses to focus on how they can prevent sexual violence in their immediate circle and then also in their kind of extended circle, because we know that businesses in the community have great influence over what happens here in Sioux Falls, and so we want them to be on the leading edge of stopping domestic violence and sexual assault. So that's a program that's free and available to folks that are in businesses, in those small to medium-sized businesses. And then very, very new to the Compass Center is a program called Safe Bars, and it's a program that started in Washington, D.C. and is running there. It's a program that specifically trains bars and restaurant and hospitality staff related to sexual violence and how they can prevent sexual violence in their vicinity. And so that program is new to us. We've been trained, and there's a variety of community members, including some restaurant and hospitality folks that were trained that will be rolling this out in 2019 to start training bars and hospitality organizations in the community.
Great. Do you have questions for either of the ladies? Commissioner Benega?
I have excuse me, I have one question. I guess you've talked about your recidivism rate over the past. Can you give us an update on what that's like right now? Because it's always been an incredibly positive number.
Yeah, recidivism is really tough for us to be able to tell because short of having a camera in the houses to see what's actually going on with our batterers, it is really tough. I can tell you that State's Attorney's Office tells us that they very rarely see a person coming through a second time who's been through our program and has had to go through it again. So that's probably the best I can do. We've tried to figure out how exactly to give you a percent, and it's really tough to figure that part out.
I understand, but having people not come back is a good idea.
Definitely.
Yep.
Commissioner Karski?
Michelle and Michelle, thank you for being here. And thank you for what you do. Attended your ribbon cutting, great event, and great way to let the community know, all those wonderful things that you do. I'm going to quiz you with some numbers here. How much does the county give you towards your budget? What's our contribution?
We get a total of $50,000, $35,000 from the county, and then $15,000 from the domestic violence fees.
Okay, which are collected from the
From the marriage licenses, I believe.
Yep, okay. How much of your total budget comes from private donations, as a percentage, roughly?
I'd say 25 to 30% is private donation.
You do count on the community support
Definitely.
that way, too, so, okay. And because the staff of 12, nobody works for free, so, thank you to the community and to all the supporters, but just so people know that the county does contribute to your budget also, and it's through licensing fees and so forth, marriage licenses and that type of thing that go to fund this. So thank you for what you do.
Yep, we definitely appreciate the support we have from the county and the Sheriff's Office and State's Attorney. We have a good working relationship and appreciate it a whole bunch.
Jane, anything? Commissioner Bender?
I want to add as well, I really appreciate the work that you guys do on the front end and the education and prevention. I'm excited about these new programs that you're rolling out. I mean, I think you've done a good job of strategically picking areas where there could be impact. And once again, it'll be hard to measure, I'm sure. But I'm interested to hear about how that's received both by businesses and by the bars as you roll that out. And I do want to just congratulate you on your new space. I mean, it was really great, very functional space. And I mainly want to just thank you for the compassionate care that you guys offer every day. Those were very difficult situations that you voluntarily involve yourself in, and it makes a big difference. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming, ladies.
Yep.
Item number 11 is a brief presentation of the 2018 79th Annual Sioux Empire Fair Report. Scott, good morning.
Good morning, Scott Wick, President and CEO of the Sioux Empire Fair Association. Thank you for allowing us the time to present this year. We'll start off talking about attendance. We did cut the fair back by one day this year instead of opening up on Friday with a sneak peek and going through the second weekend through Sunday. We curfewed on Saturday, so we're down to still a long but productive 9-day fair. Oh, I better run this, don't I? So with that being said, our attendance was virtually flat. We were up just shy of 1,000 people. We did experience some weather the first 4 nights of the fair. The opening Friday night, we had high winds and hail come up about, I called the midway about 10:30. By 11 o'clock, we had very high winds, tipped over all the porta potties, tipped over all the garbages, and tipped over the fun house. So we got everybody out of there very safely. There were no injuries. Worked closely with our security and Pete Jarls, our head of security, Sheriff's Department, and the carnival. And the next morning, we definitely had a major cleanup. So we postponed opening instead of 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, which took a little bit of a hit because, you know, our weekends are the busiest. Beans were 9 days. Midweek is definitely slower. But we did get that all cleaned up. Staff did a great job. And then Saturday, Sunday, and Monday after the show, thankfully, we also closed the midway down early those nights because the weather came within minutes after the show was over. And so with good communication, we got everybody out safely, and you got 'em just the high winds and the lightning, you know, a little bit of rain, people can handle it whenever there's lightning around. When you have rides that are 100 feet in the air, poses a problem. So we were very pleased with attendance overall. As you can see from the picture, that's a very good representation of what our concerts are doing with our pay one price to get onto the grounds, and then you have your free concert or rodeo in the grandstand afterwards. Sponsors and contributors, again, they're the same as they were last year with the change on Thursday. The Sioux Falls Trades and Labor, that used to be just the electrical workers, but they partnered with about 8 other unions, and so they're now down at Sioux Falls Trades and Labor Day for Thursday, which 2 years ago was the soybean folks. But they opted out. So last year we had the electrical workers, but they've partnered with the rest of those folks as well. So this year we had multiple contributors for that day. We had our normal anchor special events, Senior Citizens Day, excuse me, that was sponsored by Lewis Drug with the lunch, Salute to Farmers Lunch, which is sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce, and then the Grindy School celebrated a 50th anniversary from when that building was brought out to the fairgrounds, and it's been there 50 years now. Fairgrounds improvements, we had a new ticket booth that was built. I guess I should have got Quality Builders off there first, but obviously they built it. They did give us a discount for advertising during the fair, which was nice. It worked very well. We do need to get a little bit of air conditioning in it for the gals. It gets a little hot, but that's out at the main entrance on the east side, and it gets used every night. Even though the shows are free, people still don't. We need to train them somehow to come earlier to avoid the long lines, because we could have lines 3-4 blocks long just because they wait till the last minute to get there. Continued improvements, as you guys well know, and we're very thankful for this. The grandstand was tuck pointed and caulked, painted, and we had new railings put on. So the grandstand is looking great. There's also been a little bit of work done to the roof. So the grandstand's in really good shape. It looks good. The painting was much needed with the tuck pointing and caulking. They power washed the entire outside, got that primed and painted, and it looks very nice. Other improvements, there's a new roof on the Bridlewood and Armory buildings. It no longer leaks or rains inside the Armory, which is very nice. First time in 8 years we haven't had to get the Zamboni out and suck up water after a rain. So awesome improvement. The city, the asphalt they give us, we asphalted some people call it the ring road, but the perimeter road that goes around from the south to the east side, so that's completely done. So whenever a concert curfews or everybody's coming out, you don't see that haze and all that dust that's there. So that's a big improvement. The midway was completely asphalted, and everywhere that had major problems, very smooth, very nice. Carnival recognizes that, appreciates it, and more importantly, the guests and the moms with the strollers that don't have to hit the obstacle course running around. We had a new transformer in the backstage area that was replaced, new infrastructure and wiring that goes up to the north part of the property where all the food vendors plug in their trucks. We added an updated, excuse me, PA systems and components in the livestock area. Excuse me. And we just received a grant for money to trench in and add conduit back there to make it all more permanent and underground and easier for us to work with. And due to ice and snow sliding off of the roof of the expo, there were canopy entrances that were repaired and fixed that are on the west side of the building. So now we get down to the expenses. The largest expense of the fair is entertainment. So as we look at that, the grandstand, we spent $520,431, and we had purposely budgeted to spend less. We were very lucky to get good acts that just hadn't booked yet. We were able to get them at a much better price. We actually spent 20% less on our grandstand acts than we did in 2017. Grounds entertainment, we spent a little bit more, brought in a couple extra acts. And of course, the premium payouts, front porch. The Budweiser Beer Garden, the last 2 years, we've just done 2 nights of entertainment. When we have done more nights, it just does not pan out. They stick around for the concert. If you have an opener that goes a little bit longer than a normal opener, you know, especially midweek, people just want to get that act in, and then since you don't just drive away in 10 minutes, they go to their cars and fight for their position to get out. So our total entertainment expenses were $651,212. That's down $106,000 or 14% from 2017. Other expenses are just the usual: grounds, admin, vendors, cost of goods and concessions, advertising and promotion, you know, our usual expenses with the horse shows, and then arts, horticulture, FFA. Total expenses for 2018 were $1,132,574. That's down $116,000. No, I'm wrong. It's down 34,000, almost 35,000, or down 3%. And I'm not keeping up with that. I apologize. Go back up. You're driving? Oh, I didn't see that. So, revenue overall, admissions, camping, miscellaneous, $532,620, up 37%. However, we did raise our gate from $7 to $10. And our beverages at the shows, our adult beverages are $6, up from $5. So beverage and concession was up 6% at $266,000 and some change. Carnival's up 11%. Change in the carnival, we took over the promotion of the Super Pass. It was outsourced to a third party before, but we felt we could do a better job. We did have another increase in that, and the carnival pays us 10% of the gross of the Super Pass for promoting it. So they give us money to promote it, plus we made roughly $14,000 for taking and doing all the busy work and placing all the ads and doing all the marketing. Sponsors were down from 218,000 down to 151. That part of that is the beer companies cannot legally sponsor anymore, and one of the large sponsors paid a large amount of money to offset the higher cost of a band, and they did not do that this year. However, they did pay to continue their promotion. So that number we know is going to get tougher and tougher to get back towards that 200,000 range. Even with some large events around the area, they've been coming to our office wanting to move to our property to see if it's more economic for them to use the fairgrounds. And a consistent theme coming from them is large sponsors are scaling back or spreading it around to other areas as well. And revenue from competitive exhibits was down about 6%. That's mainly in the expo building. That commercial area is trending down, and we just came back from a convention, and we're always looking at ways to get more and more people in there. But in a city our size, with the retail we have and the as seen on TV aisles in every big building and things, internet has a lot to do with it. With Amazon, people can get things ordered now, it's there tomorrow. So that all plays into the effect of that building and who and what we get for the commercial. So general overview, our total revenue was $1,369,987 with expenses of $1,132,574 and a net income of $237,413. Compared to last year, the net was only $90,687, so 2.5 times what we did last year. So the fair business model changes all the time. We try to keep up with the trends and what the guests and the consumers want, but I think we have, moving forward, a pretty good model with room for kind of a hybrid. We can still do one ticketed show if we want to. The board has given approval on that. We were looking at that for next year. However, we were hours away from committing and got a phone call. It's good to have relationships in the entertainment business because SMG is going to be announcing something rather large potentially on that night. And both of they would have done okay. We would have it would have been bad. So we are not doing a ticketed event. But overall, considering weather and everything else, it was a very successful fair. Hard to believe it was number 8.
Yeah.
For me.
Questions for Scott? Commissioner Karski?
Scott, I know you have a fair board that you report to, and as well as kind of us, I guess.
Right.
But help me understand the admissions and the revenue from admissions, because it works out to be about $1.70 a day if you divide the 299,000 into the 532,000. How does that work?
Well, between the gate, it's free till 1 o'clock, and all the exhibitors and 4-H and FFA and all those families that don't pay, there's a tremendous amount of people that get in for free.
Okay.
So we capture as many as we can from all the other hours that aren't part of sponsorships, that aren't part of the carnival, that aren't, everybody that has a job out there or shows something or is a staff member, everybody, and they're counted daily every time somebody comes in, they're counted daily. In the fair business, you need to have a certain attendance to attract certain vendors and people that will attend.
Okay. So my choice, if I go to the fair as a resident of the area, I can buy a pass for the whole fair for
$65 is the super pass,
okay.
and that gets you in the gate every day and unlimited carnival rides.
Okay, or I can pay how much per day? $5?
$10.
$10 a day.
Or you would come in every day for $10. So for every super pass we sell, and we sell almost, what was it? It was 2,200, I think, if I remember correctly. So those folks, 2,200 there, pay one time, and we get a portion of that from the carnival because we are out the other $10 every day that they would come. Sometimes they buy a super pass, come one day. Sometimes they come every day. There's folks that will buy the super pass that never ride a ride, that just use it because they come out to the fair every day for something, and it's a better value than spending $90.
Okay.
Commissioner Bennett?
Thank you.
Scott, I appreciate your report today. It's kind of as happenstance that you're also here on the same day that we had your audit provided, and I'm just wondering if you could give some update on the audit. I know the audit shows a picture as of where the fair was December 31, 2017, and I'm wondering if you can kind of bring us forward as to some of the issues that were noted in the audit and how you're doing on those.
I haven't. I'm prepared for this meeting here and these questions. I can tell you that from a liability standpoint, our line of credit's at a balance of 0 now, and that was an issue of theirs at the time. So that balance is 0. Some more equipment's been paid off, and really, the new standard for GAAP was the ongoing concern that I'm sure that you read. So that was their big sticky point there. I know Gerald, you can answer that as well. He was in that meeting, but we're in a much better position than we were. We've paid off that line of credit, and financially we're in a good position.
Okay.
Commissioner Bennett, yeah?
Well, I don't have the audit in front of me. I can tell you that the concerns that were brought up have been addressed from a day-to-day standpoint, and cash flow is always at everybody's discussion, and because of the profitability of the fair, it's improved. And Scott and his team have done a very good job of managing those concerns and made improvements with that. So at this point, we're happy with the results and hope that it continues.
Was there a specific
Well,
concern?
I certainly had a question about the ongoing concern
Yeah.
issues that were raised. There was a number of cash control kinds of issues that were raised. Do you know if those were all addressed?
They've all been addressed. Probably the cash control issue that I recall is we only had one printer in the office, and occasionally checks get printed on that are just everyday printing that aren't checks. So they had concerns about that. We've recently brought another printer into the office that's just for checks. But all the checks are kept in the safe, and all that's been addressed, and all the checks that are voided are accounted for. And there's stronger policies for that and redundancies for duplication of checks and balances there, and a separate file just for voided checks with better explanations and stuff like that. So from a cash control standpoint, that was, anybody that's been through an audit, they had a concern with camping and triplicate receipts, and well, how do I know that somebody didn't come in the middle of the night and camp and leave? Well, quite frankly, I don't. If somebody comes in at 10 and 11 o'clock at night and parks their camper and leaves at 4 in the morning, I don't know that. My campground host is sleeping. So if somebody wanted to come out and rob me of $30 for 6 hours of camping, it can happen. But we have Tri-State Security comes through there 4 times a night. Not that they're tasked with keeping track of our campers, but during the times that Don is awake and running around on a golf cart, he does a very good job of it. And we have the triplicate receipts now where the customer gets one, we get one, he gets one. They're numbered, and that's audited out in the office when he brings his cash in.
Okay. I mean, when I look at the issue about camping revenues that's in the audit that we were presented today, it just talks about some other kind of routine things about, doing a routine audit of going out to make sure that, that there are receipts for the campers that are there when that audit is done. Do you know where any procedures changed with respect to camping?
The way that he gives the receipts, and we don't have an official policy for that to go out and count the number of campers there, which that can, short answer, no, we don't have an official policy for that. That's something we need to work on.
Okay. Maybe, and I know I kind of caught you off guard, and so maybe it would be helpful if you could just go through that audit with the issues that were raised by the auditor and just provide a brief report to the commission about what actions have been taken based on the request of the auditor and where we are on that. I don't think it would have to be too lengthy, but it would be helpful just to know kind of what actions were taken as a result of the recommendations from the audit.
Okay.
Commissioner Bender, do you want that as a commission hearing or a memo?
I think a memo would be fine.
Yeah. Just write us up something, that'd be fine. Additional questions? Okay, thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 12 is authorize the Highway Department to purchase the 2019 Ford F-550 medium-duty truck under state bid contract number 17257. DJ.
Good morning, Commissioners. DJ Boothie, Highway Superintendent. We are today requesting for your approval to purchase the budgeted F-550 4x4 for the bridge maintenance team. The existing vehicle is about 10 years old and it has 138,000 miles on it. We're actually just going to repurpose that vehicle, take the service body off of it, and put a different body from a different vehicle onto that one, and continue using it in the fleet. The vehicle that we will surplus in the future here, once all that happens, is a 2002 Chevy truck that has a flatbed hydraulic lift pickup body on it, and that one is not used very much at all in the fleet because of the condition of it and the way that it has poor fuel performance and stuff. And so the truck that we wish to purchase is from Lamb Motor Companies through the state bid. The total cost for including delivery for the vehicle is $42,256. It's going to be a 2019 Ford F550 extended cab 4x4, and again, that's only the chassis. And then in the future, we'll purchase purchase a utility body for that vehicle as well. So, if you have any questions, I can answer them now.
Yep. Is there any questions for DJ? For a motion? Is there a motion?
Oh, motion to approve.
Second.
And we need a roll call vote?
Bender,
Yes.
Benega,
Hey,
Karski,
Yes.
Hiberger.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 13 is consider a resolution to establish the speed zone on the highway system for Minnehaha County. DJ.
Commissioners, in the past, what we've done with our speed limits is each individual speed zone has its own resolution, and whenever we come upon a new section of roadway that requires a resolution, we pass a new resolution for that speed zone. That worked okay until a point where we had several different speed zones, and whenever we would go back to try to reference certain limits or details about a speed zone in particular, it created a lot of work in trying to research the files that were often incomplete and trying to find the details of those specific resolutions. And so we decided to do what we have already done with our bridge resolutions for our bridge postings that we have, and create one single resolution that is for every single speed zone on our county highway system. And it took a lot of work. Highway staff, Olivia Larson, Sandy Kinder, Heidi Yerke, and Josh Hellman all worked together for the last several months in trying to gather all of the information. We field verified every single speed zone, and we put together the enclosed resolution and created a map for it. And so now it's kind of a one-stop shop for our speed zones, and it should be much easier to manage, much easier to reference when we need to reference it, and share that information with other agencies or our sheriff's office. Moving forward, once this resolution is passed, if we do have any additions or changes, the future resolution will basically say this one is no longer valid and the new resolution is valid. And so it's a much easier way to manage things, and I wish we would have done it a long time ago, but it's nice to be complete with this project and ask today for your approval of this resolution.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for DJ? Go ahead, Commissioner Bender.
Oh, I just want to confirm, and you've probably already just said this, but so we didn't make any changes. This is just a different way of reporting what has been in place.
There is one modification of an existing speed zone, and that would be in between Sioux Falls and, in between Brandon and Veterans Parkway. There's two weird sections that are 45 miles per hour and also two sections that are 55 miles per hour. All four of those sections of speed zones are very short, and that's just not good practice to have four separate speed zones in that short time frame. And so we made it all 45 miles per hour, worked with City of Sioux Falls and City of Brandon, and all three agencies agreed that the entire stretch should be 45 miles per hour.
Commissioner Bender.
And so that's on Rice Street?
Rice Street and Holly.
Yeah, okay. That's good. I always thought that was just a speed trap for me, so.
Things I appreciate the map, because after I looked through all these and I'm like, where is that? Then I had the map, and the map is great. So that's super nice. The other thing is, I just had a question for State's Attorney's Office, as since there was a change in some of the speed zones, and I realize that they just are all uniform, but do we have to notice that or anything? Or are we just fine with approving the whole new resolution?
In accordance with the statute that Mr. Boothie referenced in the memo, I think that the resolution is fine, and he's also indicated that he's communicated and there's a process in place to update those speed limits to provide notice.
Okay, that's all I needed.
In the future, if we were to pass a resolution under statute, the county commission for some reason has the authority to establish a speed zone inside a municipality or a township on a road that's not our jurisdiction. And in that case, those agencies are required to provide notice. But we don't follow that practice in our county. And so as long as we're just doing our roads, we should be okay.
Okay, I need a motion on this one.
So moved.
Second?
A motion, a second. I need roll call vote, please.
Yes. Benega. Karski,
Yes.
Bender,
Yes.
Hiberger.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, DJ. Item number 14 is consider a motion to approve the 2019 liquor license renewal application for Blue Haven Barn. Olivia.
Yes, Blue Haven Barn has submitted their renewal application for their liquor license. Sorry. I've received no concerns or complaints from Planning and Zoning, State's Attorney, or the Sheriff's Office.
Any questions?
I would move for approval.
And motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 15 is a liaison reports. Any reports, Commissioner Bender?
I probably should have brought this up last week, because last week was Homeless Awareness Week, and I think the commissioners at least got invitations to different events that were going on. I was able to participate in the second annual Walk a Mile on Saturday that was sponsored by St. Francis House, where we basically walked from the Sioux River over to St. Francis House. It was an impressive group of people that they gathered. It is an opportunity just to spend a little bit of time thinking about what it would be like to be out in the elements. It wasn't even a particularly cold day, colder than Arizona, but not as cold as it could have been. But it was certainly worthwhile, and it was a good opportunity to visit with some folks. Along those lines, at our next joint city-county meeting, there'll be a presentation on a proposal that the Homeless Advisory Board is making to utilize some salary savings that we have since Stacy Teason resigned to contract with Augustana Research to do some research about best practices in comparable communities and what exactly we should really be focusing on measuring to kind of move the dial and truly impact for the better lives of the homeless in our community. So if any of you have any questions as you look at that proposal, I'll be happy to visit with you before the meeting next week.
Okay. Commissioner Karski?
To piggyback on Commissioner Bender's Hunger and the Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week, yesterday with Kathy Brechtelsbauer, and then our Human Services, Lori Montes, and a few other people from the community, school board members, etc. We went shopping at Sunshine, and I got to shop with and for a mother of 3 boys, ages, I believe, 13, 15, and 3. And we had $16 and change to buy a day's worth of groceries. It was an interesting shopping experience. Had a registered dietitian along with us who just happened to be my daughter, so it was kind of fortunate that we could do that and shop together with buying food not only that is appropriate but that they'll eat. I mean, you can buy food for a 3-year-old. If they don't eat it, it doesn't really pay. But it was an interesting experience, and I want to thank the mother that was there to put herself out there for doing that and to show us what it's like to shop, a WIC recipient, food stamps, etc., and to be able to buy groceries for teenagers typically can eat a lot of food. So being able to have enough and appropriate, so it was an interesting experience. So I want to thank Ms. Brechtelsbauer and our Human Services for arranging that. And I know there's other events that are going on that commissioners can get involved in to support that, as you said. So it was an interesting experience. So from that, if I could transition to highway. Last Wednesday and Thursday, I went to the Federal Highway Administration's workshop on autonomous vehicles, and at the invite of our highway superintendent. And I was interested to attend this for a lot of reasons. And when you're there, find out that 37,133 people died last year on U.S. highways, and 52% of those deaths were from roadway departure, people leaving the road for whatever reason. In South Dakota, this year we've had 77 people die, and that's up as of August 10th, and that's up 26% from the previous year. That's a lot of roadway deaths. In 2017, we had 129 people die, and that was up 13% over 2016. Autonomous vehicles are thought to be an answer to a lot of these roadway deaths. If you take the human element out, how much can we reduce roadway deaths? So a lot of the talk went into the infrastructure design, the automation of our highway systems, how, the uniformity, and, from a policy, perspective, what do we have to budget for? What are the costs? Working with the MPOs, the Metropolitan Planning Organizations, several of you are members of the Urban Development Commission, on how do we plan and design our infrastructure for this. Highway markings, best practices. It was an interesting discussion, and there were probably close to 200 people that attended it. A lot of city representatives. You look at the state of Texas, a big state. It's been 18 years since they've gone a day without a highway death. They typically have 10 deaths a day in the state of Texas from highway deaths. 2016 nationally was the worst year for pedestrian deaths in the country. And again, a lot of it comes from just not paying attention to what's going on around you, and we can blame a lot of different things, but the auto industry is really moving forward with the autonomous vehicles, and when a government's trying to catch up to what they're doing, what do we have to do? And my perception throughout the meeting was the industry's going to do what they're going to do in spite of government more than because of government contributions, which I think is the way it should work. I think the auto industry is looking to solve these issues, and I think government needs to work with them instead of set the parameters on what they're going to do. So it was an interesting workshop.
Commissioner Karski. Any other reports? Commissioner Benton?
Just briefly, an update. This morning before the commission meeting, I participated with the HR director and with the administrative staff on phone interviews for the equalization director, who is retiring after 35 years. So that'll be a big job to fill. And I'm also involved with the Metro Management Group, who is going to be looking for a new director after a transfer to another agency, if you will. So we got interview process in two areas that we're working with.
Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to new business. Is there any new business? Is there any old business? Okay, I look for a motion to recess the commission meeting, and we will re-adjourn for executive session at a later time. Is there a motion to recess?
So moved.
Second.
A motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. We are recessed. Danielle, I have a comment for the organization.